Tuesday, October 8th, 2013, Committee of the Whole meeting to order at 5:43 p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Maldonado. Councilwoman Woolman.
Here.
Councilwoman Faircloth McCormick. Councilman Shelley.
Here.
Vice Mayor Burgess.
Here. You got to hold it till it goes green. Okay. Additions, deletions, deferrals. Mr. Attorney?
Yes. Under number 4, car 972 has been previously deleted, and there's been a withdrawal of the request under item 7A, the Burger Brawl, to delete that item as well.
Okay. Everybody got that? Richard, get into the microphone, please.
Pardon?
We can't hear you when you
I need to lean in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. The one thing we are going to do is we're going to move the bowling alley to the back of the meeting so that the other people that are here for the shorter stuff and that can partake and move on. That would bring us to tab 3. I'll entertain a motion for the minutes of the September 11th, 2013 meeting, Committee of the Whole. We're on tab 3.
Second.
I think there's too much echo. Is there a motion
I'll make a motion, but I don't know what it was for.
for the approval of the minutes?
I'll make that motion.
These microphones are terrible.
Well, I think these are like, if I may, these are the kind that we use at the, at convention. You have to stay back away from it. You can't get into it. You have to stay back.
The sound people are in the back trying to adjust it as you're all talking to try to reach an equilibrium. So then you can't hear anything? Okay. How about now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so there's been a motion. Is there a second for tab 3?
A second.
Been a move and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Tab 4, car number 967. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
Thank you.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Staff report, please.
Vice Mayor, this is an agreement between the City of Homestead and Becker and Polikoff, as per Becker and Polikoff's letter of September 26, 2013, outlining a change in the status of the Fuentes Consulting Group, the firm previously providing the proposed services due to the acquisition of FRCG by the law firm of Becker and Polikoff.
Thank you. Questions or comments from the council?
Yes,
Yes, ma'am, your floor.
I had the opportunity to read this contract as well as to speak to Jose Fuentes, who represents Becker and Polikoff. I have no objections to approving this lobbying contract. What I'd like to see carved into the contract is a clause that allows them to submit to us an end-of-year status report so that we are apprised of the lobbying efforts that they have conducted on behalf of the city for that year. I think it's important for us to have an understanding of the work that they've done for us that year. So I think adding in a clause for an end-of-year summative report should be warranted.
No problem, Richard. Can we just add that?
We'll have that added before it comes onto the council agenda.
Sorry, I didn't understand. I couldn't.
Richard, speak close.
I hear you, but I couldn't hear what you said. Does that make any sense?
Wow. It's echoing?
Something about a clause. What was?
Yes, I just wanted the firm to submit to us an end-of-year summative report so that we know the lobbying efforts that they have conducted throughout that year.
Now I hear you perfectly.
Just for clarification, by end of the year, do you mean end of our year on the calendar?
Fiscal year.
Fiscal year, okay. Thank you, just for clarification. I would also like, if I could, I notice in the contract it says federal, state, and local perhaps, as we've discussed and we budgeted this year, whether or not, I don't know, but that we try to include them more on the local level and see what they have to offer us. Because I'm under the belief, and that was one of the reasons why I made the request during the budget session or budget meetings, was that we lose a lot locally through the county and the school board. And that's what my goal was when I asked for that item to be on the local budget. So perhaps we can reach out to them and see how they can help us at those levels too.
We budgeted $20,000.
I understand that, but it also says in their contract, federal, state, and local lobbying. So perhaps if they think they can help us there already, then maybe we can move along with that and perhaps work out as we work things along. But let's get some people engaged in those now, because that bond money is being spent and allocated by the school board. I have no idea what they're doing, but I'm waiting for them to do stuff down here. And the county is moving every day on different items, whatever it may be. So perhaps we can get them engaged on that level also. I understand that that it's a separate budget item, but unless I read this contract wrong, it said federal, state, and local, correct?
Correct.
So let's see if they can help us at that level.
Okay.
Thank you. I see Mr. Fuentes is here. Anything to say, sir? Hold it till your button goes, there you go.
Sorry. Green means go. Jose Fuentes with Becker Polikoff. Response, Mr. Mayor and council members, we do have an office in Washington, so in whatever way we can assist, we will assist the city on those issues. So we are available.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, Mr. Shelley.
Mr. Vice Mayor, just to follow up on your train of thought, are you looking to have them lobby for us at the county level, at the local level? Because I agree we need some representation, or is it also to keep us informed? So as part of what Councilwoman Faircloth-McCormick asked for, which would kind of be a reporting of some point, would it also be at the local level to know what the county has going on maybe a quarterly basis, so we know what we need to engage on and when we need to get involved or when there's opportunities? Is that something that could be provided?
We actually have helped the city in the past with regards to some of their local issues. One of them, I think, had to do with an annexation issue or something to that effect. So depending on the issue, we'll work with the manager and the assistant manager, and again, whenever they've needed services, we've responded to their calls. And we would produce a report.
Yeah, and also not so much as echoing microphones. Not so much as because I know that you respond and we ask for assistance, but also maybe keeping us informed of what's going on at the county level, so that we know when we as a city need to advocate for monies, if there's anything that they're doing at this county level that would affect us, to bring it to our attention or to our staff's attention, so that we can, be proactive when we need to be. Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on to tab 5, motion to place car number 963 on the council agenda, Tonka filter rehabilitation. I'll entertain a motion. Moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. Staff report, please.
Staff recommends the council approve the attached resolution and authorize the city manager to execute a contract agreement with Tonka Water for the purchase and installation of the materials necessary for the filter rehabilitation project. This project is part of the City of Homestead's capital improvement plan. This request is in accordance with Section 2-411-1A7 of the City Code, exemption from competitive bidding. This project is necessary to ensure continued compliance with the regulatory agency's permit requirements.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, seeing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item. Motion to place car 965 on council agenda. Amendment to Chapter 30 zoning to permit athletic fields within the industrial zoning districts. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded. Thank you. Staff report, please.
Yes, sir. The staff recommends that the Vice Mayor and Council approve the ordinance amending the city code to permit athletic fields within the industrial zoning districts. We were directed by the council to provide additional locations for these athletic fields to serve the recreational needs of the folks in the community. We determined that the I-1, I-2, and I-3 industrial districts were the most appropriate locations for these outdoor fields. The proposed ordinance authorizes outdoor athletic fields within these districts subject to the following minimum requirements, including permanent restroom facilities, field lighting not being permitted, and if natural turf is to be used, that the field be sodded and irrigated as per code irrigation section 29-62.
Thank you. Any questions from the council? Yes.
This is what Mr. DiBenedetto was speaking of when he addressed us a few weeks ago.
Yes,
And Joe and his staff have been diligently working on it. It just took some time, but that's what this is about.
Mr. Shelley.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. My only question on this, and I spoke with Mr. Cordino about this before, is I think I'd be a little more comfortable if this item was a special exception process versus as a matter of right. Because the only concern that I have is that, not that it may happen, but in the future looking forward, I'd hate to see where we turn around and all our industrial zoning areas are now soccer fields. You know, I think there's a need for it, but I don't want them to buy the land and as a matter of right be entitled to a soccer field. I prefer it to be a special exception where they actually have a little bit of the extra safeguard going forward so they don't proliferate throughout our city going forward. So I just think it's a little more protection for us. That'd be what I'd recommend. Otherwise, I think it's good.
That's not an issue for the Development Services Department. That'd be easy to do, and that shouldn't hamper the ability to get one of these approved.
Mr. Maldonado.
Yes, question in regards to, I know we have a bathroom facility. Are they going to be able to have like a concession stand or anything? I don't know. I'm probably close to this.
We're not requiring a concession stand, but we would allow them to have one. Those types of facilities would be, they'd be great. And I think they would probably want one, but they're not going to be required.
There's too, excuse me, a minute. He's off because it's too loud and we can't hear a thing up here. Not a good time to start playing.
So,
Understood.
I don't know what you said, so.
I heard you. Yes, sir. Well, lights would not be allowed. Well, we didn't want to disturb neighboring areas having light spillover. They tend to have a negative impact on the community. So our first blush at this was to say no lights.
Just clarification. Do I need to make a motion to amend this to add this as a special exception? Is this going to go into the consent agenda for the council meeting, or is this for direction?
This is for direction.
With direction, because it's got to go to the local planning agency, so...
I don't need to make any kind of motion or amend it to make...
Are we going to put this on the agenda for Wednesday for first reading?
No, sir.
Okay.
We're going to do the one after that.
Okay, so we'll amend it when it goes back and to put the special exception requirement in.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 7. Motion to place car 962 on council agenda, infiltration and inflow rehabilitation project, ITB 201-330. Is there a motion?
Move it.
Been moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Staff report, please.
Staff recommends the council authorize the city manager to award bid 201330 infiltration and inflow rehabilitation project to the lowest responsible bidder, Miller Pipeline LLC, in the amount of $378,979.50.
Questions or comments from the council?
Question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Maldonado.
If I stand back this way, that sounds better. Mr. Brea, is this, I know a few years ago we did a study to identify the manholes per se, or the drainages. Is this a result from that study that was done about 2 years ago to find out, did we have a problem? Was there, a lot of leaking in our drains? Was this a result from this?
Correct. This is a direct result of those studies that we've been doing studies and repairs. This is not the first set of repairs that we brought to the council. So there's been others before this one, and basically they all rely on the information that was submitted based on the studies that were performed in the pipelines. Yes.
How long will this kind of hold us over to?
Yeah, it's a multi-year program, and we're taking one section of the city at a time, so we'll continue doing these type of improvements until we get the whole city done.
Did we have the amount of drainages that were being covered in this? The number or section of the city? Anything that we could kind of look back to and see where they did?
Yeah, most of these type of improvements usually take place in the older parts of the city where the pipes are older and they're broken and they're just deteriorated through time. So basically those are the areas that require the most improvements. You probably won't see any significant improvements being required in the new sections of the city because the pipes are new, etc. So most of these repairs are going to take place in the old section of the city, basically, west of US 1.
If I wanted to see the reports, where would I go to see these reports?
We have the reports available. We can send you all that information as need be. Basically, they're based on a lot of different types of studies, which include smoke testing, actual teeing of the lines. That's usually where most of the repairs are identified, is by putting robotic video cameras inside the pipelines that identify where cracks or deficiencies in the pipelines exist that need to be repaired.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, seeing none, ready to vote? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item, tab number 8. Motion to place car 960 on council agenda, document conversion to electronic media, RFP 201301. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll
Moved.
second
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
And seconded. Thank you. Staff report, please.
Staff recommends council approve the resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement between the city and Advanced Data Solutions, top-ranked firm by the RFP Evaluation Committee for document scanning services. Total project cost is not to exceed $150,000. This project is part of the City of Homestead's capital improvement plan.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Questions? Hearing none, seeing none. Mr. Williams, you got anything to say down there? All right, I guess not. All right, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, seeing none. We'll move on to the next item. I'm correct, the bowling alley. Car number 969, bowling alley discussion. Staff report?
Yes, sir. The staff seeks direction from the council regarding 3 bowling alley proposals that have been received from the Approach Entertainment Center, Elite Real Estate Investments, and KSY Family Irrevocable Trust. These 3 proposals to purchase the bowling alley were presented to the council at the September CAL. Council members at that time asked that the group submit financial information and return to December 25th council meeting. Members of the council expressed a desire to see a larger down payment and a higher purchase price. The item was moved to the October 8th CAL. On October 1st, KSY Family Irrevocable Trust met with staff and presented statements that appear to indicate over $5.5 million in available cash. KSY has amended their original offer to allow the city to maintain 20% interest in the property. On October 2, met with Elite Real Estate Investments, and then they presented their 2012 tax returns that appear to indicate that the principal of the company has sufficient income to purchase and renovate the bowling alley at the terms illustrated in the letter of intent given to us at the September 11th CAL meeting. And on October 2, the Approach Entertainment Center affirmed that the SBA financing plan included with their letter of intent.
Thank you. Discussion or comments from the council? Mr. Shelley.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I mean, I'll just start at this stage in the discussion. I think my position is still what it was at the last council meeting. That is, I'm still not satisfied with the purchase price. I still would prefer a lease option versus a buy option. You know, something to secure and safeguard the city's monies, that if we're going to end up subsidizing, if that's the will of the council to subsidize bowling in this community, that we have sufficient safeguards to make sure that we get our monies back on the back end if the bowling doesn't actually succeed. So, I mean, at this point, I'm still of the opinion that I'm not happy with the offers that are on the table. So we'll start there and we'll see where the discussion goes.
Thank you. Ms. Waldman?
I don't know if it's better if I use it or not. Can you hear me? Yes, very well.
Can.
Because Steve was very muffled to me. Mr. Shelley was. You know, I go back to what I've said all along, and I've said it for years, and that is that you can't, to me, you can't use the appraisal that we have because you're praising it for all purposes rather than just for entertainment purposes. So I just see that building sitting there, dilapidating every day before my eyes. I see the community crying for entertainment, crying for a bowling alley. So I know that I can make a choice tonight between the three offers.
Thank you. I'm not in favor. I mean, 3 years ago, perhaps I was in favor of bowling. Today, I think at best we need a mixed use there where the city retains partial rights of the property, or some kind of an agreement where we're under a lease. As this city moves forward and grows, in a year or two we're going to be looking for land to buy for a new police station perhaps. And here we are giving away a parcel of land, perhaps giving it away or selling it or whatever it could be, a possibility of $500,000. And in a year or two we're going to have to turn around and spend three times that at least to buy a parcel of land. It makes sense to me that we explore other things. If my numbers are right, the city has over $4 million tied up in that parcel of land. And for us to give it away at $500,000 possibly tonight makes no sense to me. I believe if bowling was a thing that could fly and would have been done, it would have been done 3 years ago, because we had a family down here, and they're here again tonight, who worked as hard as they could work to make it happen. And for whatever reason, their investors wouldn't allow it to happen, or would not give them the opportunity to make it happen. So I guess if I'm hearing Councilman Shelley correctly, he kind of goes the same way I do, and that as we grow, this may have been good 3 years ago or whenever we started this process, 14, 15 years ago when a bowling alley was there now. But the city has changed, and as we grow, we're going to need land. And then the other thing that just really keeps standing out in my mind is that we have well over $4 million tied up in this parcel of land. And I don't know how I explain to a constituent that we give away the balance of that money, and then we turn around and go and spend more money to buy land in the future. So unless we can come up with a mixed land use that works over there for me, I can't be in favor of this tonight. of strictly a bowling alley and selling this parcel of land for $500,000. Next. Jimmy, you want to go? Patricia?
Yeah, it's very difficult to hear the present conversation. And so I'm trying to understand what you just said, Vice Mayor, in a nutshell. It's hard to hear you.
We're going to need subtitles. Fairclough McCormick, you got any comments?
Yes, I have a clarifying question. Can you just explain a little bit more about the $4 million that you say the city has tied up in this land
Well,
for my information purposes?
I believe there's some staff here, but if you go back and look at the money that was loaned against the property to purchase the CRA shotgun houses, that's $1.9 million. The original purchase that was down there, I can't remember the exact number. Is Gemma here anywhere, or does anybody else have that number? Because that's where the number came up to me when I was talking with her. Perhaps Mr. Cordino, do you have those numbers?
Oh, sir, I do not.
I know one of our applicants does, because when I was speaking with him, he brought the same thing up. Yes.
I don't see how you can, with all due respect, I just don't see how you can say that that property has cost us $4 million when that property was used as another transaction and there was a lot of confusion, and I don't even know if there's anybody here on staff that can really, would like to address it. I mean, the shotgun houses.
I'm not really sure what the question is.
Well, I'm trying to hear what's being said, and even though Mr. Bridges is sitting right beside of me, sometimes it's hard for me to hear him. So, my question, I guess, or my statement is that I just don't see how you can affiliate or say that $4 million, that the city has $4 million in that property when that property was used as a vehicle, a tool during the shotgun properties, but when the bowling alley is sold, that money will be paid, am I correct? That money is paid back.
I think we're going to have to get back to you on the total figure, because Gemma's not here tonight. She had an issue she couldn't get away from. So if that becomes the crux of this issue tonight, then obviously we'll have to compile the figures and get back to you.
To my recollection, the money that's used in the sale of the bowling alley would be used to pay back a portion of that loan. Correct, Richard? And that was, I think, 1.9 million?
1.9.
So I can't let the, I mean, with all, like I said, with all respect, I can't let that come into my way of thinking as to whether or not it's the right time to sell the bowling alley. I mean, to me, we need to move on as far as the police station or whatever, until we make decisions about the new city hall site, which I'm hoping that when the time comes that we'll have a new city hall site and a new police station at the property on Washington Avenue. I'm just going to tell you how I feel about it. But you know, I just don't, in my opinion, I just don't see how that relates to what we're trying to do here. The building has just been sitting there, and every day, every year that goes by, we lose more and more and more money. And I always go back to that time value of money. If you register what a property was cost, or what a property would sell for 20 years ago as to what a property would sell for now, but this property is just going down and down in value. Now, if you don't want it to be for entertainment purposes, yeah, you can get a higher price. But because you're restricting that property for specific uses, and Bill Tebow, I see you sitting in that audience, and I know you know what I'm talking about. When you restrict a property for a certain purpose, that price is not going to be the same price if you could just put anything on that property. So I guess we're just going to have a continuing debate, but...
Well, and I would go back to the same thing and say that the appraisal we got 3 years ago is invalid, and that the value of that property is much higher today than it was 3 years ago
It was
with
an
the
all,
recovery.
it was an all-purpose appraisal, though.
I understand that. So that, and that appraisal today, where it came back at 2.6, would probably be closer to 3 million or more today.
I don't think property values have gone up like that.
Commercial-wise on Highway 1, I guarantee you.
I don't think so. But I'm not going to argue. I mean, I've been doing real estate 35 years, and I mean, it has to have a use. And again, you know, we've had this discussion so many times.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
I mean, I think we, at one point, what I kind of a little thrown off here because the discussion before, and I finally kind of agreed to it because I was listening to my constituents saying that, you know, we really want some family entertainment. We don't have nothing here that has to deal with that. You know, we want that to be a bowling alley again. And so I thought we were, you know, all in agreeing and saying, you know, we do want the bowling alley. We do want that one item, something of quality of life here in the city of Homestead, and this was the place. If we were going to do it, this was the place to do it. So I agreed to move forward with this. You know, if you guys recall originally, you know, I was okay with a school going there. You know, I wasn't, because I wanted something to happen with the building as opposed to just continuing sitting there. So, you know, the discussion came where, okay, the bowling alley is what the community wants, and I think that's what we need to respond to it and try to do it as efficiently and best as possible. So I think we even had the discussion. I mean, you know, did we have to pay back the money that was owed to it? Because if we're going back to that discussion, you know, that's, you know, I thought we took that off the table. Now, I would agree with my colleagues up here in the sense that the price of land is expensive. And we were looking at some property in reference to the park over at the east side, you know, for another park over at the east side. And we could tell you a small piece of property was costing a lot of money. So I would agree with my colleagues in the sense of there's a value to that property. And so, you know, I guess are we going back to saying, you know, we're not happy with the price because we owe amount? Do we owe a certain amount to this property? I thought we could just basically, at one point we agreed to saying, you know, I mean, we could give it away if we wanted to because it was CR related, as long as it was somewhere, you know, benefiting our community.
I think I might be able to describe this, and the city attorney can stop me when he thinks I'm wrong. It's $2 million. And the agreement says, basically, we're going to loan you $2 million, which is ours. And then when we sell our asset, we're going to give you those $2 million so that you can pay us back. So the money goes from the asset, which is $2 million, goes here. In essence, the asset is sitting there, right? The assumption was $2 million. You give them $2 million and you say, this is a loan. This is our money, but this is a loan. When we sell our asset, which is ours, and you have nothing to do with it, we are going to give you that money to pay us back. That's the deal. So I don't know what it costs you, and at the end of the day, certainly if it's less than $2 million, your general fund obviously is not being reimbursed for the money that it loaned out. On the other hand, you know, that's all policy questions. This is really, it's less about cost as it is, and I know everybody's got a different argument tonight. I think it might be an easier thing to ask yourselves the question, how much are you willing to subsidize bowling for? Okay, so each of them have different guarantees. Each of them have structured their deals a little differently. But at the end of the day, bowling will cost you something if you want a guarantee of X number of years where they have to operate a bowling alley. Because in essence, you have an asset that's worth something that you're selling for less than its value, arguably. I don't think anybody disagrees that you'd be selling it for less than its value. The debate is how much is its value and how do you look at value, how do you interpret that. But at the end of the day, you're selling it for less than value. And so you as policymakers have to decide what's bowling worth and over a 5-year period. So that really, I'd say, is the bigger question. You've got two complications, which we've known from day one as we've dealt with this, is the CRA loan. And we knew that our books on paper that loan is it's a receivable, right? So your books say basically somebody owes us $2 million, and if you sell the property for $500,000, for example, then that 1.5 is wiped off your books. So that's the paper transaction, recognizing, of course, that the two pockets here, the left and the right pocket, they're both your pockets. So what they did on paper was creative at the time for a variety of different reasons, but it's less about cost because the money came from one pocket or the other, it's the same pocket. And then the only other issue becomes, are you comfortable with the operator? Are you comfortable with the financial ability to do it? Are you comfortable with their vision for it? But the first piece is, are you willing to subsidize bowling in some way? And if you can't reconcile that, I mean, you might as well get that one out of the way first, in my opinion.
And so I guess the question would then come up, if we've now turned from this being a bowling alley or facility for entertainment, because again, that's where when I was agreeing, saying, look, I heard the residents, they wanted a bowling alley. I think they're willing to understand all this that's going on and say we want a bowling alley, and at the end of the day, if we're not going to change, then we would remove that restriction saying bowling alley so that we don't continue with that.
May I?
Yes, my Vice Mayor.
Okay.
Williams?
Councilman Williams.
McCormick?
Oh, there's that. Okay. I listened to all of the viewpoints from my colleagues, and I think they're very valid, and I respect them. And I listened to the city manager, and you asked a question. You said, what is bowling worth? And for me, I feel it's worth it. I think about the amount that the city has tied up in it, a couple $1 million, the amount that the potential operators have proposed, a couple $100,000, the amount or impact that bowling will have on this community, I feel is priceless. So I am prepared tonight to move forward with bowling. I've listened to my constituents. They want bowling in this community. I feel as if it's a quality of life issue. We need to bring back some recreational activities in this community. And I had an opportunity to meet with one of the operators. I looked at financial statements. So as for me and my perspective and viewpoint, I am prepared to move forward with bringing back bowling in the community.
And I think that I mentioned mixed use, and I think a couple of the operators that have came forward have come up with creative plans that bring bowling to the area, use that parcel of land for bowling, and also give the city the ability to possibly put a police station there or retain some of the acreage in the back for future growth if we needed it, or different ideas. And so I think that there's a possibility of both things out there too. So if we should, or if we could, it's up to you guys. Should we give each presenter 5 minutes to come up and sit, or whatever, up to 5 minutes to present their, and then we'll make a vote on what we're going to do.
I'm prepared
That's
for
what
that.
we're here to do tonight, is to vote one way or the other.
Are they going to bring anything else other than we've already discussed and already read? I mean,
I
if
believe.
that's the case, for me, I wouldn't need to hear anything. I think we've heard from all.
Yeah, they've all amended their proposals a little bit, so I think each of them would welcome the opportunity to at least give their proposals.
Wasn't that
Here, and
included
that's why at the last meeting, I asked that everybody reach out to them, or have them reach out to everybody. So hopefully, everybody's taking the time to do their due diligence, and move forward.
If I could just say one last thing, I'm sorry. We had all, I don't know if it was unanimous, but we did vote to move forward on was it Mr. Rock's proposal? Rock?
Rock Enterprises, yes.
Yes. And, I just felt like that, I agree with Mr. Maldonado and Ms. Faircloth that that's what we're here to do tonight. Two of the entities have reached out to me. I'm ready to move forward now.
All right. Anybody want to hear the proposers, or do we want to take a vote? the will of the council. Mr. Shelley?
Mr. Vice Mayor, whatever the will of the council is fine with me as far as moving forward or taking a vote. You know, I'm not against the bowling concept. I'm not against an entertainment center, because I do believe we need that here in the city of Homestead, and I think it would be good for our quality of life. My biggest concern here is the nature of the proposals and making sure that the city of Homestead is made whole. You know, I don't want to see this be a land grab. That's my biggest concern. You know, we've dealt with developers in the past that have come in and promised, you know, the moon and the stars, and they're going to do this and they're going to do that, and then once they get the asset in their hands, they change their mind. They go a different direction. They come back to us and say, well, you know, now all the other people are gone, so you got to deal with me. And so my biggest concern is making sure that if we end up deciding to subsidize one of these entertainment centers, that we do so in a way that there are safeguards built in. And that's why I like the concept of a lease, because the risk is on the person who builds the entertainment center. And if at the end of the day the business model fails, we get our asset back, we can start this process over again, we can still turn that into something quality. If on the other hand we sell it for cheap and there's not enough safeguards and the business model fails for that particular entity, they then sell the product, they sell the asset, they sell the land, and they make a windfall. They sell it for the fair market value of $3 million or $2.5 million. They make $2 million on a bad deal, and the city gets left with nothing and we can't start over again. And so those are the concerns that I have. And so there are ways that I think we can still go forward with an entertainment concept, but in its current form as being offered in these current proposals, other than the one that was amended by the trust, which unfortunately I never got a chance to meet anybody from the trust, so I don't really know what their concept is. You know, they're the only ones that added in some sort of a recapture provision, meaning that they at least let us share in the sale of that property on the back side. So at least we got 30% back of that value. And so that's something better than nothing. Although I'm still not satisfied with it in its current form, my understanding is tonight we are voting on, if we go with a group, it's going to be for further negotiations and discussions. It's not as proposed. So,
Yes.
so these deals can become better. Although I still am not in favor of the current deals, if the majority of the council decides to go with bowling or with an entertainment concept, those are the only cautions I would raise. Those are the only things I would ask for you guys to give direction on, is to ask staff to put those types of safeguards in going forward.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Maldonado. Or Mr. Gretzes.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention that at a courtesy to the proposers that are here, you know, I think they would prefer to at least have an opportunity to say a few things, so, but it's obviously your decision.
Yeah. Vice Mayor, I would have, you know, I think when I spoke to two of the other organizations, the companies, and, you know, I agree with exactly what Councilman Shelley is saying, is that we're giving up, you know, for quality of life, for the better, you know, for something good in our community, we're willing to give up at a lesser cost. But the other end, at that end, the other concern that we had was obviously that in 5 years, I mean, there's this 5-year number. If they fail, they could do as they please, and they will make a lot more money, and so we will be left, we won't be whole. And so I could support, you know, something in place so that we could have a guarantee, some kind of guarantee, because we are giving them a heck of a deal. So, but as long as we're moving forward in reference to quality of life, bowling. That's the discussion of it.
All three applicants are here, I believe. Mr. Shivers, your group want to start? Mr. Shiver, your group, please. I can't hear a thing.
Oh, got it. Green, sorry. Thank you. I'll be happy to open up and just say a few things. Having the benefit of being involved in City of Homestead and Miami-Dade County, first and foremost that strikes me is any government entity owning a percentage, physically owning a percentage of the property that a recreational facility such as this and is on children and the like, creates a liability issue that you may not want to be involved in. If you'll remember Homestead Hospital, although we were quote-unquote immune from the liability as a city, we were often sued as a city. And that would be something, Mr. Shelley, that you brought up, that, you know, the ownership clawback of some kind, you may want your attorneys who are extremely capable to make sure that that provision protects you. Second, we several months ago, Mr. Haddam and I had an opportunity to sit with one of the proposers and discuss the opportunity at hand. At that time, the proposer said $800,000, and we never heard back from him. Since then, we had an opportunity to talk more with the owner next door, Dr. Sanchez, who bought Best Western and, of course, the entire facility for $3.1 million and has since put in almost $1 million to improve that property. It's my opinion that the person most vested in the success of your property would be the person that has the most vested next door. If you'll recall the problems over the years, and Mr. Haddam Issa can tell you that his guests being chased out of the hotel room by the party goers next door, and that kind of problem that happened, you know, again, it truly points to the success of the bowling alley and that compound as a multi-use recreational facility vests itself in the owner next door more so than any proposer. Lastly, it was mentioned to put a police station on the site. If you're looking at doing a multi-purpose family recreational facility, it would be extremely difficult for Chief Roll and his folks to adequately and easily maneuver through that facility without causing a detrimental situation to the kids that are in and out of that bowling alley and arcade. So I would ask you, even if you don't use bowling or recreational facility here, putting a police station on US 1 next to a hotel and a commercial shopping center and other things where you're trying to boost foot traffic and economic activity is probably not the best location for a police station, in my opinion. And I believe if you talk to your planners, your traffic folks, they're going to tell you the same thing. And unfortunately, just like the school had a traffic pattern problem in that location, so would a facility like a police station. Now, that said, there has been some changes. Dr. Sanchez and Elite Realty has agreed to some things as we talked through with several of the council members and your staff. Mr. Manager, thank you for meeting with us as well. We truly appreciate the hospitality. But I'll let Dr. Sanchez talk, and if there's questions about his intent, I'll let him talk more about the new proposals.
How are you doing this evening? I heard you, and I understand your concerns about the success of operation like that. What I presented to you is just a letter of intent. That means that I'm flexible in terms of making this transaction possible, and if it needed to be done on the back end, like you said, you know, we're willing to secure 10 or 20% in 5 years if the property is sold to the, you know, 10 to 20% of the appraisal value, what it is right now, within the $2.6 or $3 million. I know that it's going to work. I don't want to have to sell.
Questions? I mean,
If you can recap, maybe if you can just recap, because we had a very difficult time hearing you.
What I was trying to explain is, as a security, as a back end, is in the period of 5 years, if the property is sold because I didn't make what I wanted to make out of it, I can guarantee a 10-20% back to the city on the proceeds of the sale or the appraisal value of the property.
Just,
Maldonado?
Vice Mayor, just if we're going to play off that idea in front of everyone, what are we looking at? I mean, we won't know what it really sells for. At 20% of the value if they sell it. I mean, they bought their property for $3 million. And we want that guarantee, but it's hard to define what is that guarantee going to be back to us in 5 years if we're not able to sell it. So even, what is 20% the right number? How do we find that number? What is the right number to have? You know, 20%, 10%, 30%?
On the appraised value, actual appraised value.
I know, it's real open.
If you have a current appraised value for 2.6 million, I believe, correct? Is that correct? Okay. I believe what he said is if he sells or fails in that period of time, he will give you 20% of the current appraised value. So you're 2.6 million, 20% of that. If it fails or does not succeed and he sells the property, you get 20% of that as a kicker. So it's not a windfall for the private sector. It also, and that could be subject to further negotiations with your manager and your legal team to make sure that there's no liability passed in the ownership. If somebody gives you 20% ownership of the property in perpetuity and they have someone fall and get hurt, that's 20% in your back as well. That's legal fees, that's, you know, and I know that they're going to indemnify you and everything that goes with it, but they also indemnified us with Homestead Hospital. And we know where that went to. So I think you're getting the best of both worlds and an increase and clause, a clawback, Mr. Shelley, that you were asking for.
Any other questions?
I just think it needs to be said that you may not want to sell in 5 years. I mean, when I met with you, you said you wanted to build that as a recreation center, as an attraction, tourist attraction for Homestead. So I feel like we're putting these folks on the spot, making them, I don't know.
I know that I'm not gonna sell.
Yeah. And I admire that you want to keep it and you're doing it, you're not doing it just to turn a profit and you want to make it a center for all of us to enjoy. It's a It's a multi-complex. I mean, you're going to have a fitness center, you're going to have entertainment and bowling alley and nightclub, or this or that. I mean, there's all kinds of things. So I just feel, I mean, I appreciate the 20%, I really do, but I just feel uncomfortable for you. I feel uncomfortable for all of you. Thank you.
And the bowling alley, family entertainment center will be guaranteed at least for a minimum of 8 years.
See?
The full 46 lanes.
Exactly.
Not 32 that are proposed.
Right. Thank you.
Anything else? Move on. KSY, are they here this evening?
Good evening, Paul Sasso on behalf of KSY Family Trust. Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. Thank you for the dialogue. I reached out to a few of you. I had the opportunity to speak. Our idea is essentially that of a public-private partnership. We're here to serve the community. We think that our plan, the presentation that we presented and made, is properly scaled to the community. There's a danger in underbuilding, and there's always a danger in overbuilding. The key is to find the sweet spot, which is what the community is asking for, but to do it in the most financially responsible way. We're all cash. There's no financing that we need. We don't need to leverage tax returns. We're not asking for the SBA to give us a loan. We're able to do the deal properly, and also to work with the city. If it's the desire of the council to create a mixed use, we are very open to that dialogue. If the council wants to take a different approach, we're also welcome to engage in that conversation. So we are here to serve the council, we're here to serve the community, and we'll enjoy that process if we're given the opportunity. Just to clarify, the 20% that we put in our amended letter of intent is one of profit. It's not one of liability. I mean, it's very easy for a competent council to carve out a provision that would enable the city to enjoy the eventual sale. I mean, it's nice for someone to say that I'm never going to sell the property, but nothing lasts forever. And it's nice to know that in 10 years or 15 or 20 years from now, whatever that value is going to be, the city gets to enjoy some of it. It's a way to create a safety net for you as elected officials, and also for us to show the intent and the partnership that I originally opened and would like to discuss with the staff and the manager's office. If you have any questions with regard to the proposal, our ability, our intent, I would love to entertain those.
Questions, comments? Anybody? You can hear better out there, can't you?
Cool. Thank you very much.
Mr. Kaufman? For the council, you can hear. Out there, you can hear.
You can hear perfect.
Here. For whatever reason, you can't hear a thing. Yeah.
And go back there, and please no disrespect, it's just, we can hear you back there, and we can't hear you up here. So,
Can you guys hear me? Can everybody hear me?
but the recorder needs to hear you. So if I go back there, no disrespect, it's just I couldn't hear you up here.
Can everybody hear me? Back and front, can everybody hear me? So, good evening again, everybody. Vice Mayor, members of the council, city manager, all in attendance tonight. Our group would like to thank everybody for the opportunity to once again discuss the sale of the bowling alley. At the last COW on September 11th, several members of the council expressed many of the concerns. Some of the concerns were regards to the purchase price, as we're talking about tonight, the differing costs in the construction project, and also alternative uses to the property, which we're also discussing tonight. One of the things the city has continuously talked about was quality of life, and we hope that tonight will be better able to answer some of those questions. I know this is a little small. I'm going to give you guys a brief history. I'm sorry I couldn't make it larger, but I'm going to run you down a brief history of the project. This will also hopefully answer some initial questions in regards to what's been invested into the property to date. This document shown was issued January 6, 2011. It was a memorandum issued by the city, which stated that the city purchased the land for $2 million. The $2 million included $1.5 million coming from the city's general fund and $500,000 coming from the community development block grant. Subsequently, the city also acquired the building by assuming the existing loan of over $1.3 million. Those two transactions cost the city over $3.37 million. In 2007, the city also contractually obligated itself to the use of the proceeds for the sale of the bowling alley from an unsecured loan from the city of Homestead CRA in the amount of $1.7 million on purchasing the shotgun property. This amount, as it ballooned as of January 6, 2011, was in the amount of over $1.9 million. This total brought the city into the property over $5.1 million, or approximately $5.1 million, as you can see. The property, this is the current condition. It's been sitting closed for over 5 years. These pictures were taken over 18 months ago, and the city, the building suffered extensive damage and vandalism since. Would the members of the council like me to go through some of our construction numbers and budgeting so there's further clarification on what's going to be invested into the property and so that the requirements? So these are some photos of other centers, AMF 300 centers, Brunswick Zone centers from across the country, different types of renovations. The city, as it sits today, needs $350,000 invested in the electrical system. There's been approximately $150,000 in additional damage that occurred since we've last taken these pictures. The roof needs extensive repairs. There needs to be extensive window and door replacements and the updated facade. There is also going to be major overhauls in the HVAC system, the AC system, which will cost over $275,000. These total about $982,000 just in the building to bring it up to code. The build-out is going to require a little bit of demolition. It's going to require some partitions to be refitted, some finishes, some ceiling repairs, so the bowling equipment, of course, the massive renovation for those, and some decor and theming. Those are about $1.275 million. These costs, the costs involved in the entertainment facility go beyond just the bricks and the mortar. You need to include other costs such as the professional fees, the permits, insurance, the licensing, interest payments during construction, just to name a few. Most important, you have to account for the contingency. Being in the building and construction industries, we all know that there are always going to be cost overruns, unforeseen conditions, and those things have to be planned for that. So as you can see, before we even talk about the purchase of the facility, you're talking about $3.4 million that have to be put into the facility to being open. And in that 3.4, it's not just the interior cost, it's not just the construction cost, but it's also the contingencies, the working capital, all the miscellaneous professional fees, and that's how you get to about $3.4 million. One of the things that the council should be concerned with is the timing, and everybody. You're not going to get this thing open in 4 months, in 6 months. It's going to take a year, 12 to 14 months to get this thing open. Here's a rough schedule of the time that it's going to take to proceed with the project. To recap our initial proposal, the letter of intent we submitted was for $850,000, all cash, a 5-year restriction, $25,000 deposit, 60-day due diligence period, and 30 days closing after the due diligence period. After hearing some of the comments from the September 11th town meeting, we've come back and brainstormed to try to come up with several different alternative concepts that we can present to the city. And the first one would be to have the city take back the mortgage of the property. This benefits us, it benefits the city, and it allows the city to get a higher value or purchase or value for the property over a 10-year period, where we would come in at $1.15 million as an offer. The city would take back the mortgage, 20-year amortization, 10-year balloon, 4.5% interest rate, and it would allow the city to recoup approximately $1.7 million over that 10-year period. Our second alternative is that the city contributes the land and becomes just a long-term equity partner with us in the land. It would receive rental payments like our investment group every month, every year, and would benefit on the eventual sale of the property, and the city would retain anywhere from a 25 to a 30% ownership stake or clawback provision within the this scenario. The third scenario more or less echoed a ground lease, where we would offer a 50 to a 99-year ground lease. The city retains ownership of the property, and we lease it out just for an extensive period of time. The one thing we would like to see is that we would have the right of first refusal upon future sale of the property if the city ever considered selling it in the future. The fourth and last alternative scenario we brainstormed on included a mixed-use project where we would demolish the existing structure and we would redevelop the entire site which would include a police station, which would include a bowling and entertainment center, and would also include an additional 40,000 square foot of retail space on the facility. We think that this benefits both parties. One is a developer to obtain the highest and best use of the site for income purposes. It allows the city to have a new police station, where as a developer, we would be building the cost of the police station. So the city would have no cost in building the initial police station.
If you'd like to make a call, please have...
Our initial assessment was to do about a 30% increase in size of the police station. We don't know what the specifications would be in the future, but we looked at about a 33,000 square foot building that would cost around $4 to $5 million to build the structure for a police station. So that lets the city recoup in some way that $5 million that's been invested between this property over the period of time that it's had it. This bar graph, sorry it's a little bit small, represents a couple different things. The blue represents all the way on the left is what the city has. Yes?
I'm sorry. Can you go back to the other slide I was reading before you?
Sure. So back to my graph, all the way on the left represents the city's investment into this property today, which is approximately that $5.1 million. The blue graph just to the right of it represents the appraised value of the property at just over $2.6 million. Getting all the way now is the 5 different proposals. The orange represents any proceeds directly benefiting, or any proceeds that will be invested into the property. In this case, the first 4 are about $3.4 million, and anything in the green represents the city's cash dollars it will receive throughout each of the concepts. As I said, the first one, the city would receive about $850,000 today upon, execution and sale of the purchase sale agreement with our LOI that exists today. $1.7 million in the event that the city decides to take back a mortgage. Anywhere from $1.5 to $2 million in rent proceeds if the city. $1.5 to $2 million if the city comes in as a partner to us, with that gray area representing some future amount that's 25 to 30% of whatever the future sale is. On the fourth one, you have a basis of rent, which will be paid monthly, yearly, whatever we work out, and then the gray area would constitute, again, any future sale that the city would benefit from, because that would be where the city is leasing the facility to us. And the last one represents a complete redevelopment. It would cost anywhere from $12 to $15 million to completely redevelop the site, 5 of which would be specifically dedicated to the police station structure, which would, once again, as I said, put the city whole with what they have invested to date, and give the city a way not to have to spend future dollars in building a police station. So it's something that does benefit both the city and us as developers, because we get to maximize the site to the highest and best use of it. As I said before, we do want to thank you for letting us come up here, present you with all of our proposals. I think everybody here at the council is aware of our commitment to the project. In the package we showed you, one of the things we included was our award for the Miami Herald Business Plan Challenge that just went to show the viability of our specific business plan and business model, which won the people's vote this past May for a bowling alley here in South Dade. So once again, I'd like to thank members of the council all here in attendance for letting us come in here and present our package.
Thank you. Let me say thank you to all 3 groups, because it's you're showing interest in being here tonight. You believe in the city of Homestead, and we appreciate that. And with that said, I guess any questions for this group before they leave?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you so much for your presentation. The numbers that you presented as far as how much it would cost to build out the space. Were those speculative numbers, or where did you get those numbers from? Because it looks like you did your due diligence. So where
Yes,
did those numbers come from?
so the numbers we used were from nationally published articles called RS Means. It's a data set for construction used at doing initial estimates. So we used a square foot cost type of estimate to look at what it would cost to build a police station here in Miami. And that's what we used. The numbers that we used for the square footage of the police station was just our initial estimate on what it would take. Are you talking about the cost for the police station or cost to renovate the building?
To renovate the building.
Oh, I am sorry about that. Yes, the cost to renovate, we've done extensive due diligence on that. As a lot of you know, we've been involved in this project on and off for years, so we've had a lot of opportunity to go into the building, do extensive amounts of inspections and due diligence on what it's going to take and cost. And performed the estimates. We have had all of our architects and engineers come out and certify the issues or the good things with the building. So we've been able to put together a full cost data, a full scope of work for you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
No specific questions.
Mr. Maldonado? Ms. Coleman? Thank you. Okay. Well, it's time to, yes.
Mr. Vice Mayor. Just to say that, I think some of the scenarios that they presented were kind of what I was hoping to see from some of these groups, and that is, ways that the city can get this project done, but maintain our security, whether it be the mortgage, whether it be the lease, whether it be, the clawback provision or the recapture provision. So, what I did like about this presentation was that it had a lot of those safeguards that I'm looking for. So I did like that. I mean, as we discussed, I have some concerns about the financial viability. Unfortunately, your project, you have the least amount of cash on hand versus some of the other presenters, but you have, I think, some of the best proposals on paper as far as a concept goes, numbers-wise, that I've seen. So, it's one of those things where I'm torn on the whole decision as a whole, but at least I like your concept you've presented. You've given me some flexibility, which I do like.
Questions or comments? All right. I guess, what should we do? Vote on what people want to do, or secret ballot, or what?
It's up to the council as to how they want to proceed from here. There could be a motion to move forward with one of the proposers. That would be appropriate, or more discussion, more information. It's up to the council.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Yes, sir. I would like to make a motion that we direct the city manager to move forward to initiate negotiations with Elite Real Estate Investments to move forward with the bowling alley facility.
I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, which proposal?
Elite Real Estate.
Okay. I second that.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Let's do a vote, Madam Clerk. Call the roll, please.
Councilwoman Waldman?
Yes.
Councilman Shelley?
No.
Councilwoman Fairclough McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Maldonado?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Burgess?
No.
The motion carries.
So the direction is to reach out to Elite.
And just so that there's no confusion, by negotiate, are we talking just language, or are we talking about the actual terms to dollars and cents and that kind of stuff?
The whole nine.
Okay.
Taking consideration, obviously, by the Vice Mayor, that our concerns up here, the safeguards of the property.
Well, but in other words, if they come back and say, well, the council already agreed to $500,000, I can say that's not what they agreed to, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Right,
Well, that's what I'm trying to figure out is, sometimes when we do this, the applicant comes to us and says, the council agreed to the financial deal. That's what I'm trying to understand. Was your vote the financial deal tonight, or was your vote, you like them as proposers and you want us to negotiate a financial deal? So that's where I'm going to need some clarification.
I'm comfortable with the financial deal.
Okay, so then it's not the
No, there's a
financial
clause-
deal?
Not the financial deal, but there was a clause that Councilman Shelley had mentioned. Would you like to repeat that clause? Well, they had offered 20% if he opts to sell the property in 5 or some odd years, 20% of the appraised value of the property they're willing to give back to the city. I think that should be written into this agreement as well, but I'm comfortable with the financial offer that has been proposed.
Okay, so that was what the vote was, and it was...
I'm comfortable as well. The clause, yes, but the terms, I'm comfortable.
Same. Okay.
Thank you. Any business from the attorney? Any business from the manager? Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Vice Mayor?
Yes.
I just want to bring to everyone's attention real quick, I got some phone calls from Main Street in the downtown area. FDOT is doing some sidewalk, ADA sidewalk improvements down there on the corners. And what's happening is they've ended up taking about a 25-foot section at the end of each one of those roadways or intersections, and they're replacing our pavers with this white concrete. And so I wanted to bring it everyone's attention to get a chance to drive by. They did the first one. Willie, do you know what road intersection that is? Is that 4th or 2nd? 4th and Chrome. And that's where they've started. So I just want everyone to look at it, because there are some options that possibly be on the table as far as either colored concrete or staining that concrete so it looks more in line with the rest of the pavers in the downtown look, because it looks a little stark contrast right now, and they're going to do that all up and down our downtown. So I just want to bring that to your attention so you could look into it and maybe help give staff direction if you'd like them to try to negotiate or work with FDOT to try to make it look nicer so it doesn't look so, like you have a patio in the middle of your pavers.
Thank you. Anything else?
Yes, Vice Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
The Centennial, very quickly, the Centennial Steering Committee, we are entering into a contest with the Florida League of Cities, where cities, municipalities are invited to participate in a History Happened Here contest. And I think this contest was custom tailored for the city of Homestead, since we just celebrated our centennial. And as a part of the application process, there has to be a letter accompanying the application from the mayor and council. I am willing to write the letter on behalf of the mayor and council, if that is okay with all of you, because we can't submit it without the letter.
Yes, that'd be fine. Thank you for doing that.
Okay. Thank you.
Two things that I would like to bring up real quickly. I think over this election period, I've heard a lot of concern about how long signs are out there. So at the next meeting, I'm going to, under my business, make a proposal. So I'd like you guys to think about it. But I think 90 days is way too long out front, and 14 days is way too long in the back. You've got signs out there for over almost a third of the year during an election cycle. And I think that's way too long, and I've heard many, many citizens tell me that it's way too long. So that's one thing I would like you guys to think about. And then the second thing is, Mr. Manager and Mr. Attorney, we've got vendors that come down to the food truck thing that owe the city a considerable amount of money, yet they show up at these public events time after time. Is there any way to restrict them from making money on the city if there's a lien and they owe the money, owe the city money? Could you look into that and maybe bring me back an answer next Wednesday? And I'll talk to you about it in private instead of putting it out there. But anyway, there's a vendor that shows up continuously that owes the city.
You just need to give me some details so I know where the liability came from.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Motion? Moved and seconded. Thank you.